What the hell is going on with WNBA that they cannot handle all this attention that they're getting?
The WNBA had a choice. Protect Brittney Griner like they always have, or finally enforce accountability. The video, the backlash, and the financial fallout gave them no option. But how did one game against Caitlin Clark lead to the suspension that may have ended Griner's career? Stay tuned, because this decision didn't just change Griner's career. It sent shockwaves across the entire basketball world. What if one moment, just a handful of words, could change the course of an entire league's reputation? That's exactly what happened during a seemingly ordinary game between the Indiana Fever and the Atlanta Dream. It was the fourth quarter, and tensions were already running high. The Fever were ahead by 5 points, and Caitlin Clark was putting on yet another performance that had fans glued to their screen. Griner, meanwhile, was visibly frustrated. She'd been struggling the entire game, and as the Dream's hopes of closing the gap slipped further away, emotions boiled over. Then it happened. As Brittney Griner fouled out late in the game, cameras caught her mouthing something in Caitlin Clark's direction. At first, it didn't seem like much. Just another heated on-court moment that would fade away by the end of the night. But fans weren't about to let this one slide. Videos quickly surfaced online, zoomed in on Griner's lips, and the words weren't just harsh. They were undeniably racist. Clear as day, she said, "trash-effing white girl." Confirmation soon followed when lip-reading experts dissected the footage and backed up what fans had already pieced together. The backlash was immediate. Social media erupted as the video gained traction, and the conversation surrounding it grew louder by the second. Griner's comment wasn't just labeled offensive, it was deliberate, targeted, and impossible to defend. Critics demanded action, but the WNBA stayed quiet. For days, the league acted like it didn't happen. They said nothing, issued no statements, and went about business as usual, hoping the outrage would die down on its own. It didn't. Instead, the silence only made things worse. Fans grew angrier. Longtime supporters of the league voiced their disappointment, accusing the WNBA of protecting Griner despite the overwhelming evidence. Accusations of bias and hypocrisy rang out, with critics pointing to the league's public campaigns condemning hate speech, yet doing nothing when the issue hit far too close to home. It wasn't just a bad moment for Griner. It was a disaster for the league. The trust fans had in the WNBA's integrity was beginning to crack. Then came the headlines. Overnight, major outlets picked up the story, and it was everywhere. Commentators in the sports world, from ESPN analysts to independent YouTube channels, called out the obvious discrepancy between the league's supposed values and its actions in this situation. The incident wasn't staying contained to basketball anymore. Social media only amplified the outrage, with hashtags calling for accountability and clips of the moment racking up millions of views. The fallout wasn't just about Griner. It was a reflection of the league's inability to practice what it preached. The financial stakes couldn't be ignored either. Sponsors pay close attention to public sentiment, and the WNBA's refusal to act was putting those relationships on thin ice. At a time when Caitlin Clark was drawing in record numbers of fans and major corporate backing, the league couldn't afford bad press. It didn't take long for people to connect the dots. Clark's rising star wasn't just a basketball story. It was a business one. Clark's clean reputation stood in direct contrast to Griner's actions, and the league's inaction made it seem like they were prioritizing one athlete over their own growth. And so, the WNBA found itself between a rock and a hard place. Protecting Griner was no longer the safer choice, not with public outrage exploding and sponsors starting to question their alignment. It became clear that the league wasn't addressing the situation because of morality or higher principles. It was because the fallout was becoming too expensive to ignore. When the suspension was finally announced, it wasn't the act of a league taking a moral stand. It was survival. But there's more to this story. Beyond what Griner said, Caitlin Clark's influence flipped the entire narrative on its head. How did her rising stardom force the WNBA's hand and turn this moment into a turning point? Let's dig into the Caitlin Clark effect. Caitlin Clark has been nothing short of a game-changer for the WNBA. She entered the league with the kind of fanfare that can redefine an entire sport. And in just her first season, she's already done exactly that.